Here are 5 NBA franchises that look absolutely cooked. Starting off with the Philadelphia 76ers. On paper, the Sixers still have some decent pieces, but let's be real, this team is falling apart in slow motion. Just a couple of years ago, Philly was a legit contender in the East, built around Joel Embiid and talked about like they were on the brink of a title. Now, the mood in Philly is bleak, and getting bleaker by the month. Let's start with Embiid. He was once toe-to-toe with Jokic in the best center in the league debate. Now that conversation is over. Injuries have absolutely gutted him, but it's not just that. The bigger issue is that Embiid's whole game is built for regular season dominance, most importantly being a free throw merchant. In the playoffs, that style gets exposed every single year. Defenses tighten up, the whistles stop coming, and Embiid turns into a turnover machine. He hasn't just underperformed most playoffs, he's looked overwhelmed even. He's also 30 now with a long list of injuries, foot, knee, back, face, you name it. He's missed the most playoff games of any star in his generation. And when he is on the floor, his body language has been off in recent years. His vibe is more burnt out superstar than centerpiece of a dynasty these days. Embiid isn't the only issue though. Philly doubled down by adding Paul George, who was supposed to be the co-star to revive their title hopes, except he's barely moved the needle. Right now, he's giving more to podcast culture than to playoff culture. This was the big swing Daryl Morey was hyping up, yet it already feels like the final chapter of a fading super team. It actually just recently came out that the 76ers have no intention of trading either PG or Embiid this offseason, so they really are doubling down on this duo, which will get them absolutely nowhere. Then there's Jared McCain, the rookie everyone was excited about after Summer League and the start to the season. He was giving them exactly what they needed: shooting, energy, confidence, but now he's out with a torn meniscus. That's the kind of injury that can mess up your entire rhythm heading into the early stages of your career. If you're Philly, you needed him to hit the ground running, and he did, but now it might take a while for him to get back on track. Luckily, Tyrese Maxey is still a legit star. He's efficient, he's electric, and he's still getting better, but there's only so much he can do. He's not a one-man rebuild. And with Embiid on the decline and George offering empty calories, Maxey feels like a rising star trapped in a falling elevator. It might actually be time to face the unthinkable, trading Embiid while he still has a little bit of value and actually starting from zero. Moving on to the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets technically have a few valuable players: LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Mark Williams, but that's about where the optimism ends. This franchise has been stuck in the NBA's basement for years, and nothing they've done recently suggests they're climbing out anytime soon. LaMelo was supposed to be the guy. He had the flash, the passing, the scoring, the touch, everything you want in a modern lead guard. But the man cannot stay on the court. He's missed over 80 games in the last 2 seasons, with injuries ranging from ankle sprains to fractured feet. He's still just 23, but if this trend continues, he's going down as another what-if talent that never reached his ceiling. Brandon Miller looked solid in both years and might become a legit number 2 option. He can shoot, he's got size, and he's not afraid of the moment, but is he a franchise cornerstone? That's still to be seen. Mark Williams played very well in flashes, and then basically vanished with back issues. Big men with chronic injuries usually don't age well, and sadly for Charlotte, it seems he'll be a permanent question mark just like many players before him on the team. The rest of the roster, let's be honest, it's a revolving door of G League level guys and veterans cashing checks. The bigger issue is that this team has no real vision. They aren't rebuilding aggressively, but they're nowhere near contention either. They're just kind of existing. Off the court, it's just as grim. Attendance is bottom 5 in the league, local fan interest is dwindling, and despite the Jordan-era branding, Charlotte isn't exactly a hot basketball market. Even MJ finally gave up, selling his majority stake after years of mediocrity and public criticism for the franchise's direction. His exit felt less like a business move and more like him throwing in the towel. If things don't change, and fast, the Hornets could find themselves at the center of relocation rumors. The league has made no secret about wanting to expand or shift markets, and Charlotte would be an easy target if another year or two goes by without progress. At some point, you have to ask, what exactly is the plan here? Because from the outside, this looks less like a rebuild and more like a team hoping for a miracle that just isn't coming. When your peak in the last 10 years was the Kemba Walker era, that tells you everything you need to know about this franchise. Apparently, the only untouchable player on the entire roster is Brandon Miller, so at least Charlotte recognizes there's a problem and has a direction to go in. Moving on to the Washington Wizards. The Wizards are neck and neck with Charlotte for the title of most dysfunctional franchise in the NBA. The only real difference, Washington used to be semi-respectable. The John Wall and Bradley Beal era had its moments. A Game 7 in the second round, a couple of 49 season wins, but that was nearly a decade ago. Since then, it's been a slow, painful collapse into irrelevance. Right now, it's a disaster. For the past few seasons, Washington fielded a team that looked more like a TikTok production than a basketball squad. Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole took turns playing hero ball, firing up logo threes, flexing after 30-point losses, and generally giving the vibes of a team scrimmaging at LA Fitness. Kuzma is gone now, and Poole's days are clearly numbered, but what did the Wizards actually gain from all of it? Well, apparently some YouTube lowlights and a combined 60 wins over 3 seasons. They did land Alex Sarr, who might end up becoming a real franchise piece. He's got the frame, the defensive instincts, and the upside to become the next great switchable big. But even if he pans out, there's almost nothing around him. You'd think tanking a few more seasons would solve this and get Sarr some help. However, in true Wizards fashion, they managed to make things even more confusing. Rather than clearing the deck and going full rebuild, they brought in Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart, two veterans who are clearly win-now guys. Middleton's knees are shot and Smart hasn't looked like a defensive player of the year level defender in years. So what's the plan here? Compete for the 11th seed? It's going to take time and full commitment to steer this franchise out of the abyss. So far, they're trying to half rebuild and that never works. Ask the Magic how that went for 10 years with Aaron Gordon. The bottom line, this team needs to strip it all down. If you're over 25 and not named assistant coach, you should probably be on the trade block. Sarr, Bilal, and maybe one or two others are your future at this point. Everything else is noise. Even if they do everything right starting today, which, let's be honest, history says they won't, it'll still take 4 to 5 years before the Wizards are relevant again. And that's being generous. For a team in a decent-sized market with zero buzz, zero direction, and zero recent success, it's hard to imagine a bleaker outlook. The Wizards might actually be the most fitting name in sports, because making real progress here would take actual magic. Moving on to the Sacramento Kings. The Kings are technically better than a lot of the other teams on this list, but being technically better than Washington or Charlotte is not a very high bar. When you zoom out, things in Sacramento look a lot uglier than they appear on the surface. After finally ending their 16-year playoff drought, a stretch so long it outlasted 4 US presidents, there was a brief window where this team felt like it was on the rise. De'Aaron Fox was blossoming into a borderline all-star, Domantas Sabonis was putting up monster stat lines, even Keegan Murray looked like a draft steal, and Mike Brown won Coach of the Year. So naturally, once they encountered their first sign of difficulty, they blew it all up. In a baffling attempt to go all in, the Kings shipped out Fox, the engine behind their offense, and replaced him with a mishmash of middling talent. This new core of DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis, and Zach LaVine look like a trio of all-star names on paper. In reality, it looks like a discount super team from Temu. This is a core that screams play in every single year. DeRozan's playoff track record is miserable. He's a professional mid-range merchant who folds under pressure. Sabonis, for all his regular season efficiency, seems to disappear in big moments, and LaVine, he's had one healthy season since 2021 and doesn't defend, facilitate, or elevate anyone around him. This group might win 42 games and sneak into the playoffs, but what then? A gentleman's sweep in round 1? Let's not forget they traded Tyrese Halliburton to make this whole thing happen. The move absolutely did get them into the playoffs, again for one season, and now the Halliburton-led Pacers might be making the finals. Yeah, this franchise is being ran into the ground. That might have been a trash trade in hindsight, but the double down with trading Fox is actually baffling. Fox wasn't just their best player, he was the guy. Homegrown, loyal, clutch, and still improving. He was beloved in Sacramento in a way that few athletes ever are. Giving him up to chase the ghost of relevance with aging, volatile players is a bet that looks worse and worse by the day. The Kings also traded multiple first-round picks in the process, mortgaging their future for a team that doesn't even have a ceiling. Keegan Murray is solid, but not a franchise cornerstone. The depth is thin, and that defense still near the bottom of the league. Let's also not forget the off-court reality. Sacramento is the smallest media market in California and sits behind the Lakers, Warriors, and Clippers in attention, money, and star appeal. The Kings have already flirted with relocation in the past. If this flame runs out quickly, and it probably will, the ownership group could very easily start looking at their options. Moving on to the Phoenix Suns. The Suns should be a super team. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. On paper, that looks terrifying. 3 elite scorers, all capable of taking over a game, all with all-NBA pedigrees. But we're long past the point of being fooled by names on a depth chart. This team is cooked. Let's start with the basics. They didn't even make the playoffs, not even a play-in appearance. That's flat out embarrassing for a roster with this much top-end talent and this much money tied up. They were supposed to be one of the best offenses in NBA history. Instead, they looked like a broken down fantasy team from 2019 that someone forgot to update. And now, KD reportedly wants out. He's still a very good player, but he's 36 with a long injury history and just 1 year left on his deal. His trade value, not even close to what the Suns gave up to get him. They'll be lucky to get 60 cents on the dollar, and that's if he doesn't tank his own value. Then there's Bradley Beal. That trade was a disaster the moment it happened. The front office tried to spin it as a win, but Beal is washed, can't stay healthy, and most importantly has a no trade clause. He's basically unmovable. He also continues to miss games pretty regularly. Didn't even look that explosive when he did play and was a pylon defensively. This isn't the Beal from 2021. It's a guy making $50 million a year to put up an inefficient 20 points per night. And Booker, he's still a great scorer, no one's denying that. But we've now seen him in multiple playoff runs with different supporting casts, and the pattern is clear, he's not a true number 1 option on a championship level team. He doesn't really elevate his teammates, he doesn't really control tempo like Luka or Jokic, and defensively, he's not really moving the needle either. At this point, what's the ceiling? A high-scoring first-round exit maybe? The worst part is the future. The Suns are out multiple first-round picks until 2030. They went all in for a title window that slammed shut in under 18 months. On top of all this, they have no cap space, and besides their top 2 players, they have no depth and no assets. The bench is filled with minimum salary role players who can't really defend or shoot. The big 3 barely plays together, and when they do, it rarely works. The team has zero chemistry, gets bullied in big games, and ultimately it's going to implode without too much resistance. At some point, Phoenix will have to reckon with reality, and that probably means doing the unthinkable. trading Devin Booker. Not because he's bad, but because it's the only way to recoup value and jumpstart a rebuild. Without that move, they're just stuck. An overpaid, underperforming zombie team wandering through the desert. It's genuinely kinda sad. Just a few years ago, this team had the best record in the league and a young, hungry core. Now, they're a cautionary tale about what happens when you chase names instead of building sustainably. And there you have it. The top 5 most cooked franchises in the NBA right now. Whether it's bad contracts, mismanaged rebuilds, or just plain bad luck, these teams are stuck in basketball hell with no clear exit in sight. Did I miss anyone? Should there be another team on the list? Let me know in the comments. And if your team is on here, I'm truly sorry. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, that like button, anything you feel like doing. We appreciate everything, and we'll see you next video.